Today's learning target is I can find the volume of prisms and composite figures. In this chapter we're going to be dealing with different types of three-dimensional figures. So just as a review here, we're going to be taking a look at prisms and pyramids. So if you remember from previous years, prisms are three-dimensional figures that have two bases, whereas pyramids have one base and then the sides come to a point. And we call those sides the faces of the figure. So when we're naming these three-dimensional figures, we take a look at the base or bases, and that's going to help us to name it. So in this case, we have two triangular bases, so this is a triangular prism. Okay, whereas this one has one triangular base, comes to a point, that's a triangular pyramid. Okay, here we have two rectangular bases, and that's going to be a rectangular prism. Rectangular base would be a rectangular pyramid because it only has one base. The thing to remember about the bases in a prism is that they're always going to be parallel to each other. So you can see that very clearly here in this triangular prism. The bases here are parallel. Now when we look at this rectangular prism, okay, the bases are parallel as well, but you see that we could have different sets of bases because these two are parallel to each other, these are parallel to each other, and these are parallel to each other. So you actually have three different sets that you could use as bases in this rectangular prism. Today our focus is going to be finding the volume of rectangular prisms. So when we are going to find the volume, we're going to measure volume in cubic units. Okay, so when we found area, we measured it in squares, but volume is a three-dimensional measurement, and so we have to measure it in cubes, just like this. So it could be cubic inches, or it could be cubic feet, cubic miles. Okay, so it's essentially how many cubes would fit into a certain three-dimensional figure. The formula that we're going to use to find the volume of a prism is going to be volume equals big B times H. Now the big B stands for the area of the base. So be careful that when you're writing this down that you don't put little b. Okay, so this is the area of the base, big B, times the height. So if we look over here, the big B would be the area of this base, and we would times that by the height. Okay, and this triangular prism, we'd find the area of the base, the big B, and we would times it by the height. Alright, let's give this a try. Let's find this volume of this rectangular prism right here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write down my formula. So volume equals big B times H. So the big B here is for our area of our base. So I know to find the area of a rectangle, it's length times width. So I'm going to do 4.2 times 5. And now I'm going to plug in my height, which is 3. Now some of you might be saying, couldn't I find the area of this base right here and times it by the height here? You absolutely could have, and you'd get the exact same answer. So either of these will work. So our answer is going to be 63, and then the label will be centimeter cubed or cubic centimeters, because it would be 63 cubes that are a centimeter on each side, and that's how many it would take to fill up the inside of this three-dimensional figure. So let's take a look now at how to find the volume of a triangular prism. So here again we start with our formula, so volume equals big B times H. So to find the big B, okay, that's going to be the area of the base, so the area of this triangle, I use 1/2 the base times the height to find that, because that's the formula for the area of a triangle, and then I'll times that by the height when I'm done. So I plugged in the numbers to my formula. The base of my triangle was 6 centimeters, because this was 6 centimeters, height was 2, and then the overall height was 7. And once I solved that, I got 42 cubic centimeters. So again, this is what I should see in your work today. We can also use the formula for finding volume to help us find the missing measurement if we know the volume. So I'm going to start with my formula, and now I'm going to plug in these numbers into my formula. So I plug in my numbers here, and here's what I'm left with. Now I'm going to take 16 times 8 gives me 128W equals 1600. And now I'm just going to divide by 128. And once I work that out, I'm left with 12.5 or 12.5, and my label would be feet. Now be careful, because that's just going to be feet. It's not area, it's not volume that I'm finding. I was just finding one dimension, so it's just feet.